Hi, I'm Stu from Hive Automation and welcome back to the Hive. In this video, we're revisiting the Petkit Pura Max litter box that we reviewed in the past, and we're going to see if we can get it integrated into our Home Assistant instance. This should hopefully be a relatively quick video, so while I roll the intro, why don't you take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when I release new videos each week. While you are at it, if you like what I do here and you want to support the channel, there's some affiliate links to smart home gadgets that you can buy for your own smart home and support the channel at the same time, or you can support the channel directly through my Buy Me a Coffee link. Of course, those affiliate links and my Buy Me a Coffee can also be found on my website, hivemindautomation.com.au. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. So back in August of 2023, I reviewed the Petkit Pura Max self-cleaning smart cat litter box. And now that we've been living it for several months, I can tell you that we're just as happy with it now as I was back then. Functionality-wise, we've had no issues with it at all, except for the one time that the waste tray was full on bin night and it didn't scoop the litter to avoid causing a jam, but we didn't get an alert about that I can recall, although it should be doing that. I'm a little bit fuzzy on the details there, but it's fine. It does a great job of containing the bad smells, except for right when it runs a cleaning cycle, because it's actually opening the hatch, and obviously when we empty the waste tray. I will say that I would like an easier way to put it into maintenance mode. I don't like having to take my phone out to put the litter tray into maintenance mode, and I feel like the on-device controls are A, in the wrong spot, being just above ankle height, B, a little bit clunky to use, and C, if you stand in the wrong spot or trigger the approach sensor in any way, it thinks that you are the cat and it's trying to get in, and it pauses any movements, which then it takes a while to time out, and I'm yet to find a really good way to override that without waiting for that timeout. So I end up turning the whole unit off and on again to reset it when that happens. Whiskey took no time at all to adjust to using the new litter box, and she seemed to be very happy with it. In the previous Petkit Pura Max video, we'd set the delayed cleaning to 5 minutes, but after a couple of months, it was perfectly fine to change it down to 1 minute because Whiskey's very used to the litter box by now, and by the time a minute has elapsed, she's already zooming around the house anyway. The only thing that might change this is if the way the liquid waste clumps in the tofu litter, we might need to extend the time so that it's forming a solid clump, but other than that, I'm sure it's fine. The app does a reasonably good job of tracking her toilet habits, and we do get the push notifications to our phones when she uses the litter tray and when a cleaning cycle runs. Viewing that usage data for more than a single day, though, isn't really available in the app, and it's only the number of times that she's used the litter box and how long she's spent in there. The litter box is weighing the cat when she's in there too, so surely we'd be able to track that data too. I do have a couple of other issues with the app, especially regarding the account settings. When I first signed up, the password for the account didn't allow special characters, making the password less secure, and it doesn't use the iCloud keychain to store that password. On top of that, the in-app forgot password mechanism, which is supposed to send an email to your bound email address, didn't work for me either. I got an error that looks like my email address isn't bound, and then no password reset email sent to me. I ended up having to delete my account completely and set it up from scratch in order to then be able to set that password. And now it's set to a secure password that has some special characters, and I have manually set that inside my password manager. Fixes for password resets should be a self-serve fix. I'm hoping that Petkit have managed to sort out the issues there. So with the very quick recap out of the way, let's see about getting the Petkit Pura Max litter box into Home Assistant. Now we're going to be doing this with the Home Assistant Community Store or HACS add-on. So if you've not already installed HACS, I do recommend it. There's some great community-led enhancements to Home Assistant in there that really do extend the functionality of your smart home and make some tasks just a bit easier. In the not too distant future, I do plan to revisit my home alarm for the third time now to check out a better way of handling the setup without quite so much code. Anyway, we're going to head over to Home Assistant and I'm going to open up HACS and then I'm going to click on Integrations. Now I'm going to click on Explore and Download Repositories in the bottom right-hand corner and type in Petkit. And we've got the Home Assistant integration for Petkit devices in here. If I click on that, we get the Petkit Home Assistant integration here. There's some information about it there, and it also mentions some ways that you can support the developer of this. And we do see here that it does support the Pura Max litter box with or without the Pura Air deodorizer. So that's what we want it for. And I'm going to click on download here, and we can show beta versions, or we can just click download here. And this is going to take a couple of minutes to download and install the application. Once that's done, if we head back to HACS, we see that we have a pending restart here. So we are going to need to restart our Home Assistant. I'll click on Navigate on that, and we get taken to the developer tools here. I'll just quickly check the configuration. Provided we get green, configuration will not prevent Home Assistant from starting. We can click on Restart, and we will click Restart Home Assistant, and that's just going to restart HA Core. This will take a moment, and when it's back, we will start setting up the Petkit integration. Okay, so we've got Home Assistant has started. If I go now into Settings in my Home Assistant here, and then to Devices and Services. So I'll click on Add Integration. I'll search for Petkit, and I'll click Petkit, and I'm going to enter my credentials, and I'll select my country to Australia and leave the time zone as set automatically. When I've done that, I'll click on Submit, and then we should get access. Okay, so now that we've clicked on Submit, it's signed into our account, and we've got the Petkit Pura Max, and we've also got an entity for whiskey. So what I'm going to do is I'll put the Petkit Pura Max in the bathroom, which is where it is physically. And I will go and I'm going to put whiskey into a special category I created just for her called pets. So that's the area that I've set up. I'll tap finish there. And now if I scroll through here, we have our Petkit integration there. And if I click on two devices, we see we've got Petkit Pura Max and we've got whiskey is apparently a device. Drilling into the whiskey device here, we see that we've only got 3 entities. We can set her weight. So if we need to change her weight from the current set of 5.4 kilograms, we can move that. And we've also got the last use duration and the latest weight in here. Now, there's a reason that these are set to 0, and that's because I did have to delete and re-add my Petkit account earlier today because of some issues with my previous account, and because the cat hasn't used the litter box since then, we don't actually have any values for these particular sensors. But if I back out of the whiskey device there, it is worth mentioning that if you have multiple pets, you would have a device for each of those pets that you've defined inside your Petkit account. Or if you have multiple devices, such as multiple litter trays, or there's also feeders and water fountains that you can get from Petkit as well. Now we'll drill into the Petkit Pura Max, and I'll just make this a bit bigger so we can take a look through here. And we see that we have quite a few controls, sensors, configuration, and diagnostic details in here. So for the controls, I noticed there's a lot of button entities in here, but some of them actually kind of seem a little bit like maybe they could have been a switch. For example, we've got exit maintenance mode, pause exiting maintenance mode, and start maintenance mode here, and then resume exiting maintenance mode. So I feel like what we could have just done here had a switch for maintenance mode, so that much like this power switch here. So if we had that switch for maintenance mode, we could have flicked that on to enter maintenance mode, and then maybe a pause resume button that could have then just toggled based on the existing state. I feel like this is a limitation of the Petkit API. I don't feel like this is a problem so much with the integration. But we see we've got a number of controls here. So dump litter, exit maintenance mode, pause cleaning, pause exiting maintenance mode, pause litter dumping, the power switch, reset the N50 odor eliminator. We'll see what that is a bit later. Resume exiting maintenance. So that's in concert with pause exiting maintenance. Resume litter dumping, which is in concert with pause litter dumping. Start maintenance mode and exit maintenance mode we saw before. And we've also got start, resume cleaning. I don't see why we couldn't have something like that for some of the others, but I digress. If we scroll down and take a look at the sensors, we've got our average use. Again, because the cat hasn't used it since I reset my account, this is currently 0 seconds and no record yet on last used by. The litter is stated as being okay. Got times used, we've got total use in seconds, and the waste bin is in a status of okay as well. I will be interested to see what statuses this waste bin can go into, because if I can get good data from there, I can then use this data to send notifications from Home Assistant to say, hey, you need to empty the waste bin, or if this says low or something like that, we could use this to send a notification as well. Some really good sensor data there, which we'll be able to track, which is good. And then we've got some configuration settings. So again, a lot of switches. So this is all stuff that is available to configure through the app. So I won't drill too deep into what it does. These are the same switches that we have in the app, all explained pretty well in the app. So we've got auto cleaning, avoid repeat cleaning. There's a child lock to lock out the on-device controls, cleaning delay. And if we hover over that, we see that that's currently set to 1, and we can move that if we want to. I will bring that back down to 1. Cleaning interval, and we've got 5 minutes to 2 hours in there. I'm not quite sure what that does. Continuous rotation, deep cleaning, that just runs the scooping twice after each use. The display, and we can turn the physical display of the Petkit Pura Max on or off from here. Do not disturb, and if that is on, it just won't auto scoop while that is on. Kitten mode, lightweight cleaning disabled. So if there's only a small amount of weight put on there, it won't clean. Litter type is something I didn't find in the app. It might be there, I just may not have found it. If we drill in there, we've got bentonite, tofu, or mixed. So I'll set that to mixed because that's what we've got. And then we've got periodic cleaning in there. Again, all of these settings are in the app. And the last section here, diagnostics. So we've got error, so it'll tell us what error state it's in, and it's currently got no error. The last event was maintenance mode, so that's kind of helpful. We can see what last happened to it. The litter level is at 71%, and the litter weight is 1.4 kilos. Our N50 odor eliminator has 0 days left. If I were to reset the N50 odor eliminator, it now resets to 30 days there. The RSSI, and that's our Wi-Fi signal strength, is minus 39 dBm. That's actually pretty good. That said, the bathroom is right underneath the Wi-Fi access point, so it's doing pretty well. And then the state here is idle. Now I'll talk a bit more about this state later. I don't yet know what states this can show. I know that it can show idle, and there's a couple of others I found during my investigations before, but I need to understand what all of these states are before I can start using this in some automations. So now that we can see all of this information about the sensors and some other things. So with the sensors, and especially with the cat entity here, what I can do is I can drill into that, and because Home Assistant tracks, it will then graph each of those data points for me. So I could already then have potentially a far better detailed view of my cat's weight over time than what I get in the Petkit app. So that could be in the history here. I can choose entity, and I can go whiskey and latest weight. And we see at the moment it's just currently 0, but then I can choose our date range and extend that out as far as I want. So over the course of the last year, for example, if I had that data in there, I would be able to graph that. But what I plan to do possibly in a future video is I will integrate the data that comes from these sensors, and not necessarily just the weight sensor, but I will also look at using things like the last use duration sensor to see how long she's spending in there, and also things like the average use. I can track that, and even track things like the litter weight, litter level, all sorts of things. Now, in a future video, I will be looking at pulling some of this data into InfluxDB and then graphing it with Grafana so that I can then track the cat's weight and how long she's spending using the litter tray, because that information might be really useful in understanding if she's got any health issues, especially over a longer period of time than just one day. One of the things I'm most looking forward to now that we've got this integrated into Home Assistant is quite simply setting up an automation with this Zigbee button that I've connected to ZHA on my demo instance of Home Assistant here, and using this to make my life a bit simpler. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go into Home Assistant again, and I'll go to Settings. I'll go to Devices and Services and scroll all the way to the bottom to Zigbee Home Automation. I'll click on 3 devices here, and we've got this cat button here, which is this button that I have in my hand. If I drill in there and press the button, and we'll see that we've got that the short press was fired. If I long press it, we get long press event was fired, and then long release was fired. So what I can do now that we've got the Petkit Pura Max in here is if I click on automations, this plus button here, and then I'll show 8 more, and I'm going to choose, let's go with a remote long button release, released after long press. So when I release the button after pressing it for an extended period of time, it's going to trigger this automation, and all I'm going to do is click add action, and I'm going to go to button, press the button entity, and I'm going to choose the entity maintenance, start maintenance mode. So this Petkit Pura Max start maintenance mode entity, when I release this button after a long press, it's going to press the start maintenance mode button on the Petkit Pura Max entity here. So all I have to do is press and hold this button, release it, and then maintenance mode starts. I don't then have to worry about whipping my phone out or trying to go through the menu on the front of the device to start maintenance mode. Now, when I get to adding this into my production instance, I will be adding a whole lot more detail to this. I'm actually going to build it with an if-then block, and in the if-then block, I'm going to be adding a condition, and I'm going to be looking at the state, and I'm going to be looking for the state of Petkit Pura Max. So if Petkit Pura Max state, and what I'll be looking for in here is things like idle, but I do need to understand what all of the available states are before I can set this if then else condition up. So essentially what I'm wanting to do here is if it's idle, then I will press the button. If it's any other state, I need to make some decisions about what to do there. So for example, if it's trying to change to maintenance mode, then maybe we could use that pause. And if it was paused, we could then use that resume button. And also then the last one, if it's in maintenance mode, we can press that exit button. We should be pretty much good to go. I will need to build out the logic for this, but honestly, right for now, I'm just going to delete that action. So all we're going to do is press the start maintenance mode button after a long press is released. So I'll tap save on that, and I'm just going to call this automation cat maintenance mode. I'll tap save on that, and then if I go back to my settings, devices, go back to Petkit and go into the Petkit Pura Max, I'm going to press and hold this button, and then I'm going to release the button, and we got start maintenance mode changed, triggered by the automation cat maintenance mode, and we've then got the state has changed to in maintenance mode. So maintenance mode has started, and I can hear the litter tray rolling back to enter into maintenance mode. We see our state there. And now that that's in maintenance mode, I can click on exit maintenance mode here. And that's going to then, we see it's got exiting maintenance mode. It levels the litter, and then it will should go back into an idle state, hopefully. And just for some more info, I'm going to click start resume cleaning, and it says failed to call service button, press unable to call start cleaning command while litter box is in operation. So it still thinks that it's in exiting maintenance mode. That's something that's a bit weird because it's actually not. It should have reset back to idle by now. So I'm not sure what's going on. If I power it off and power it back on, it returns to an idle state. So I'm not sure why it does that. It's very, very strange that it would take that long to return to idle state. And now I can click start resume cleaning, and it's going to run through a cleaning cycle, and we'll actually pick up cleaning litter box. So we've got that state there. So we can run through these things and then we'll be able to capture those different states that entity has, so that we can then use those in our automations a bit later, but I'll do that stuff off camera. So that's the Petkit Pura Max cat litter box home assistant integration. There are other Petkit devices that will integrate using this Petkit integration. And honestly, I think that this is a really great addition to my home assistant setup personally. A couple of things I did find a bit annoying is that you can only have one device signed into your account at a time. So by setting up this integration, I've actually been booted out of my iPhone app. To get around that though, in the Petkit app, I created another account with a separate email address. And then from the main account, I shared the family to that profile, including the settings for Whiskey and also the Petkit litter box. Then I had to log back into that secondary account to accept the invitation. However, when I tried to sign into that secondary account with the Petkit integration, it complained that it couldn't find any devices in my account. So what that means is that when you sign into the Petkit integration on Home Assistant, you have to sign in with the main account that you've set up your Petkit devices with, which could be fairly frustrating if you have multiple accounts and different Petkit devices in different accounts. I feel like it's also a bit frustrating because that then also means that it's my secondary account that has to sign into my iPhone to use it and get the data that way, even though all of the functionality should be the same between the different accounts. So if you want to have both the phone app signed in and the details in Home Assistant, you might need to set up that secondary account. Having all of this data about the litter box so that I can send Home Assistant notifications when it needs attention is going to be awesome. And now having this Zigbee button to trigger maintenance mode takes a lot of the frustration out of the equation of the user experience as well. Even if I weren't going to sign back into the Petkit app, if I decided I really, really needed the push notifications from the Petkit app, I could very easily replicate them with Home Assistant anyway, because as soon as Whiskey's used the litter tray, we should then be able to get a status in Home Assistant to let us know what's going on. So I don't see why I couldn't then use that information from Home Assistant to send a push notification. And even better, I could be more nuanced with when to push those notifications, like when the litter box has been used more than, say, 6 times in a day, and if they're all for short periods of time, that could be an indication of a health issue. That, as always, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. That's all we have for this video, and I do hope that it helped you in your home automation journey. Be sure to drop a comment down below with home automation ideas that you'd like to see me cover in a future video. And don't forget to follow HiveMind Automation on Instagram and Facebook. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button down below to give it a like. And if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing now. While you're at it, if you hit the bell icon, you'll get notified when I release new videos each week. Lastly, if you like what I'm doing here and you want to support the channel, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description down below. Any contribution you make through Buy Me a Coffee does get put towards making more and hopefully better content for you to enjoy. Don't forget to check out my website, hivemindautomation.com.au. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Stu from Hive Mind Automation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.